Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take a stack of sources, pull out the key insights, and basically give you a shortcut to being well-informed.
That's the plan.
And today, we're plunging into the really fascinating cinematic world inspired by, well, one of sci-fi's most influential films, Planet of the Apes.
A classic.
Totally. We've got this fantastic list from Screen Rant that goes, way beyond the obvious connections. It offers a pretty fresh look at its lasting impact.
That's right. And our mission today, really, is to unpack how Planet of the Apes, a film celebrated, and rightly so, for its profound themes about humanity's potential downfall.
Right, and that animalistic nature within us.
Exactly, how that's echoed throughout film history. So we'll look at films that maybe directly took inspiration, some that share those deep philosophical questions.
And even some surprising ones, right, that touch on similar ideas in ways you might not expect.
Precisely. It's going to be interesting.
Okay, let's unpack this. The original Planet of the Apes, 1968, based on Pierre Boulle's novel.
Which was quite satirical, yeah.
It really did revolutionize science fiction. Just immersing viewers in that future where apes are dominant and humans are, well, caged, literally.
And what's truly compelling, I think, is how it launched this massive franchise, a whole multimedia thing.
Yeah, even when the sequels, arguably dipped in quality sometimes.
They did. And think about the 2001 Tim Burton remake. Oof. Largely panned by critics.
Right. But then, flash forward to 2011, Rise of the Planet of the Apes reboots it as a prequel.
And leads to some genuinely excellent sequels. It's quite the comeback story.
It really is. And that enduring appeal, it just speaks to the raw power of those core themes, doesn't it? How they keep drawing people back.
Absolutely. They resonate.
So what does all that mean for other films? It feels like it didn't just tell one story, it kind of opened a door.
A big door, yeah. For a lot more cinematic exploration.
And speaking of direct inspiration, okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Let's maybe kick things off with Time of the Apes, 1987.
Time of the Apes.
Right. Apparently, this was originally a TV series cut down into a movie. And it's seen as one of the most blatant copies ever made.
It's pretty brazen, yeah. It's fascinating because it follows, a woman and kids cryogenically frozen. And they wake up, boom, Earth ruled by apes. Very familiar setup.
Sounds familiar.
And while, a lot of people know it from Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Right, where it got riffed on.
Exactly. But the source we looked at points out it actually has some merit. It was produced back in the late 70s, and the ape makeup, pretty decent for the time and budget.
Really?
But here's the key insight, the really interesting bit. The story apparently sticks closer to Pierre Boulle's original novel.
Closer than the 68 movie.
Yeah. In depicting a more advanced, more technological ape society, the source even calls it maybe the only Planet of the Apes ripoff that's genuinely worth watching.
That's wild. So the copy actually went deeper into the original source material in some ways. Unexpected.
Definitely an unexpected twist on the whole copycat idea.
Okay, but what about films that maybe take a lighter approach? Still primates, still some echoes, but more adventure. That brings us to Congo, 1995.
Ah, Congo, yeah.
The source says, look, it's not a deep philosophical dive, it's just a fun time.
And that's a great point, actually. It makes you ask, well, how loosely can a film be a companion piece?
Right. What counts?
Congo mixes sci-fi and primates very differently. It has this unique production design, kind of rustic meets futuristic.
I remember that, yeah.
And it puts this fun spin on the animal attack genre. It's not about societal issues, it's pure adventure. So it shows the influence is broad. Exactly. It shows how Planet of the Apes influence can pop up even in later films, just kind of reshaping how intelligent primates are shown on screen, even if the film isn't trying to be, heady.
Okay, moving away from the big social commentary and adventure.
Yeah.
Let's talk direct thrills. Shakma.
1990.
This was described as a far cry from the heady science fiction, but it has this really curious link.
It does. Shakma is much more your traditional animal attack movie. Enraged baboon, college students, you know the drill.
Yep.
Which is almost the opposite of how Planet of the Apes flipped those primate stereotypes, right? Making them the intelligent ones.
Totally different. So what's the link?
The link is Roddy McDowall.
No way. Cornelius.
The very same. He famously played Cornelius in Planet of the Apes, and here he is in Shakma, starring as Professor Sorensen.
Wow.
So while Shakma might just seem like another creature feature, that direct connection through McDowall actually highlights a fascinating contrast. Instead of complex apes challenging humanity...
They're back to the primal fear of an angry animal.
Exactly. It kind of underscores how deep that scary ape trope was, even while POTA was busy redefining it.
That is a brilliant piece of trivia. Then there's Link, 1986. This sounds even stranger. And an anthropologist. 3 ape subjects. They become dangerous.
Yeah, Link definitely explores ape intelligence, but it illustrates that intelligence through their violent cunning, not through, like, building societies.
Okay, so intelligence equals dangerous.
In this case, yeah. It stars Terrence Stamp and Elizabeth Shue, and it's apparently more about suspense than outright gore, sort of Hitchcockian.
Interesting.
And this quiet, intelligent menace, it almost amplifies the questions Planet of the Apes raised about animal intelligence and morality by showing it in this chillingly calculated, almost human-like way.
So we've got scary, intelligent apes.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, Mighty Joe Young from 1998 seems like a totally different vibe.
Completely different vibe. Exactly.
Why?
While Planet of the Apes really humanized apes, showing them as smart, capable of good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
Mighty Joe Young deliberately highlights the animal nature of primates and often contrasts that with the more animalistic side of some humans.
Oh, okay. The inversion again.
Sort of, yeah. It's noted as a rare example where primates are used more to inspire awe and wonder, not just fear. It's a really compelling counterpoint to how powerful apes are usually shown.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's zoom out now to the really big ideas. And we kind of have to start with a film that maybe paved the way for all of this. King Kong, 1933.
The original giant.
Decades before apes. And it just profoundly impacted how primates were seen on screen.
Absolutely. And what's so insightful about Kong, I think, is how brilliantly it juxtaposes humanity's failings with the kind of indomitable spirit of nature embodied by Kong. Kong, this giant ape, often shows more genuine humanity, more dignity
Than the people trying to gun him down.
Exactly. That powerful, ironic juxtaposition. It almost certainly inspired Planet of the Apes' core idea. You could even argue pretty strongly that the whole POTA franchise wouldn't exist as we know it without King Kong first opening that door.
Making it okay to see a primate figure as intelligent, sympathetic, even tragic.
Precisely. It laid the groundwork.
Okay. And then, jumping forward, Silent Running, 1972. Classic early 70s sci-fi. How does that connect?
Well, Silent Running explores very similar kinds of wordings to Planet of the Apes.
Okay, how so?
While POTA warns about society basically destroying itself from within, Silent Running is this really salient warning about destroying the environment.
The ecological angle.
Yeah, it specifically gets into the idea that, unchecked greed, exploitation that could lead directly to the end of humans, or at least our natural world.
So both are cautionary tales, just different focuses.
Exactly. Different flavors of human folly leading to disaster.
Got it. And speaking of humans facing their end, Charlton Heston pops up again. The Omega Man, 1971.
He does. Mr. Post-Apocalypse himself.
How does his other big post-apocalyptic sci-fi film connect here?
Well, like the book it's based on, Richard Matheson's I Am Legend.
Great book.
The Omega Man acts as this complex dissection of modern society. It really skewers issues like divisiveness, social injustice.
Similar undercurrents to Apes.
Very similar. Just like in Planet of the Apes, these big themes are simmering right below the surface of what is, fundamentally an exciting sci-fi story.
Which means you can enjoy it on that level.
Right. Even if you're not actively looking for the deeper message. But it's definitely there, adding layers.
Okay. And for a more modern take on these big ideas, District 9, 2009. That one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that felt like a real gut punch when it came out.
It really did. And it's such a brilliant example of using allegory in film.
How so, in relation to apes?
Well, District 9 is set in this alternate world, alien refugees treated like second-class citizens. It mirrors, quite powerfully actually, the way humans are treated by the apes in Planet of the Apes.
That power dynamic flipped, the dehumanization.
Exactly. And it pushes buttons,
Yeah.
It directly examines racism, incarceration, state-sanctioned violence.
Yeah.
All particularly poignant given its South African setting and history.
Yeah, no kidding.
The source calls it an excellent companion piece specifically to the modern Planet of the Apes reboots.
Because it continues that legacy, using sci-fi to comment on very real, very current human struggles.
Spot on. It keeps that tradition alive and potent.
All right, finally, we have to talk about Project Nim, 2011. This one stands out because it's not sci-fi at all. It's a documentary.
Right, a true story.
So why is it on this list? The source calls it a perfect companion piece.
What's truly fascinating here is that it is this gripping, true story about a chimpanzee named Nim.
I remember hearing about this.
Yeah, he was part of this big scientific experiment back in the day, trying to see if apes could actually learn and use human language, sign language mostly.
Okay.
And the documentary meticulously explores the experiments, Nim's whole life story, really, including, and this is tough, the harrowing conditions chimps were often subjected to in medical testing back then.
Wow. So how does that connect to apes?
Well, the source points out that Nim's real-life story remarkably mirrors the fictional events that Caesar, the main ape character, experiences in Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
The experiments, the intelligence, the treatment.
Yeah. Exactly. It offers this real-world, often heartbreaking reflection on the very themes POTA explores fictionally: ape intelligence, communication, and crucially, the ethics of how humans treat other primates. It brings the fiction into reality.
That's a powerful connection.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense as a companion piece.
It really grounds those sci-fi themes.
So, wrapping this up, what does this all really mean? We've gone from direct copies to creature features to these profound allegories, even a documentary.
It's quite a range.
It really is. And it makes it clear that the influence of Planet of the Apes just stretches so far and wide.
Oh.
It wasn't just a movie or even just a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it inspired generations of filmmakers to tackle these deep questions.
About humanity, intelligence, society.
All of it.
Indeed. And, we've explored how these diverse films reflect or maybe challenge the core ideas of Planet of the Apes, the fall of humanity, the animalistic nature of man.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe this whole deep dive really invites you, the listener, to consider something beyond just the movies themselves.
Like what?
Well, what does our continued fascination with these kinds of stories, where power dynamics flip, where intelligence is questioned, where humanity is often the villain, what does that reveal about our own anxieties?
Our anxieties about progress, power.
Yeah.
Our place in the world.
Exactly. Our place in the natural world. It's a conversation that starts with apes on screen, but really it asks us to reflect on ourselves. Makes you think, doesn't it?
Yep.